Punk Revolution now. Today I want to talk to you about the most impressive political maneuvering I have ever seen from any artist ever, and I am extremely inspired by this. This is Neil Young taking on Spotify and winning. That to me is just so inspirational because so many artists have taken on Spotify in their own personal battles, usually about revenue and feeling like Spotify should pay them more, whatever. And every single artist who takes on Spotify loses. They keep their music on Spotify because they know ultimately if they have their music on Spotify, that's going to make them the most amount of money. They're not actually going to go as far as removing their music on Spotify, and if they do, it's not going to really make a difference, right? Well, Neil Young, like a freaking boss. Neil Young took on Spotify. He went as far as making that massive sacrifice to take his music off Spotify, and he won. Spotify has been exposed. Everyone can see, just it's plain as day now, that Spotify is full of crap. They will lie out their teeth if they need to. They will put the interests of profit over the interests of actually taking good care of their user base and actually taking good care of the world. And this isn't just like a philosophical battle here. Like, Spotify is losing money right now, okay? Joni Mitchell also hopped on board and took her music off Spotify. Spotify has lost billions of dollars in values in a couple weeks. That's freaking Neil Young, literally, like, what the hell? That's amazing, Neil Young. You have contributed to taking on a corrupt, evil fucking business, and you've put a big hole in them. They've lost billions of dollars. If you watch my channel closely, you know I usually roll my eyes at a lot of very, I think, weak criticism that Spotify gets from a lot of artists about them not paying enough. I think, obviously, I want everyone to negotiate and try to get as much money as they can as an artist, but frankly, I never really bought that argument just because Spotify has been an unprofitable company for so long, so I just, the math never really added up to me. Spotify is a company that's like going into more and more debt, and they're not making very much money, and they're actually losing more money than they're making from paying artists and labels and stuff. I'm not afraid to take a pro or anti-Spotify perspective. So believe me when I say the Spotify defender, when someone who's defended Spotify says that Spotify has exposed themselves as corrupt, lying assholes, I mean it. Spotify has exposed themselves on such an evil and corrupt level that I think no matter where you stand on COVID-19, no matter where you stand on the left or right spectrum, on the political spectrum, no matter what, you cannot deny that Spotify has exposed themselves as just corrupt liars. And let me explain. Right now, a lot of people are framing this argument as pro versus anti-free speech, where Neil Young is anti-free speech because he's demanding that Spotify removes Joe Rogan's podcasts because it's spreading COVID-19 misinformation. And lots of people are saying, Neil Young, you're anti-free speech. So what if Joe Rogan doesn't get everything completely factually correct? We should let people say whatever they want on whatever platform. But if you actually slow down and read the details, the only conclusion you could possibly reach, if you were really following this as logically as possible, that no, the real corrupt, evil entity here that's anti-free speech is Spotify. Take a really close look at the statement that Spotify released in response to Neil Young pulling his music off the platform because of the Joe Rogan misinformation. I'm gonna read it right here. Please think about every sentence and think about these contradictions, all right? We want all the world's music and audio content to be available to Spotify users. With that comes great responsibility in balancing both safety for listeners and freedom for creators. We have detailed content policies in place, and we've removed over 20,000 podcast episodes related to COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic. We regret Neil's decision to remove his music from Spotify, but we hope to welcome him back soon. So I want you to really think hard about this. Spotify is saying that they support musicians and artists to be able to put their content out on their platform, and they want to support free speech. And then Spotify says, and now he's trying to appeal to the liberal side. They're trying to play both ways. They're trying to say, but look, we've removed 20,000 podcast episodes that were spreading COVID-19 misinformation. So Neil Young, don't come after us saying we're spreading misinformation because we're clearly cracking down on misinformation. Do you see the intense contradiction here? They're defending leaving Joe Rogan's misinformation on their platform as a free speech thing, but then literally in the next sentence they say they removed 20,000 podcast episodes spreading COVID-19 misinformation, which raises the question, if Spotify is willing to remove 20,000 podcast episodes spreading misinformation, then why aren't they doing anything about their most popular podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, which is the most listened to podcast in the world, spreading severe COVID-19 misinformation, discouraging people to get vaccinated, telling people to get medical treatments that don't work and are dangerous. These are very serious cases of misinformation. And Spotify is saying, we're going to leave Joe Rogan up because we support free speech, but look at us, we're also going to remove these 20,000 podcast episodes that are, because we're against misinformation. The contradiction is crazy. It's like, how are you playing both sides here? No, you are clearly supporting spreading misinformation by leaving Joe Rogan's extreme case of spreading massive misinformation to tons of people. Don't point to the 20,000 podcasts that you've removed, and the only conclusion you can reach, if you're thinking about this logically, no matter if you're right-wing, libertarian, left-wing, communist, socialist, liberal, whatever you are, the only conclusion you can reach is that Spotify has different rules for different people. For the small podcasts that aren't making them that much money, they will go ahead and just delete it if there's even a slight chance there's any COVID-19 misinformation, okay? That's what they're doing. They made that clear. 20,000 podcast episodes removed, that's a lot of episodes removed. And then if you're Joe Rogan, who's making a ton of money for Spotify, Joe Rogan can say some of the most egregious, total conspiracy theory stuff on his podcast, and Spotify is gonna let it go. So what we're basically seeing here is there's just two sets of rules for two different people. You get more free speech if you're making more money for Spotify, and you get less free speech if you're not, okay? However you feel about it. Personally, for me, I think removing COVID-19 misinformation off Spotify is a totally reasonable take, and I think, Spotify should do it. But, there's going to be some people out there who think it should be just radically, Spotify should just let literally everything they want on their platform, and we can have that debate. I'm not here to debate that. I just want to show you that Spotify, I can't think of anybody who thinks this is a reasonable way, a reasonable rule here, where if you're popular and you're making money for Spotify, it's free speech for the rich and powerful and less free speech for everybody else. It's a contradiction. If you're gonna have some free speech rules, whatever it is, if you want to go super far free speech for everyone versus super far not even the slightest amount of disinformation, wherever you are on the spectrum, I think we can all agree we should all be following the same rules that should be applied to all of us, and we shouldn't give a pass just because someone is making Spotify a lot of money. And if your policy is we're gonna let you say whatever you want if you make us a lot of money, and we're gonna crack down on you hard if you don't make us very much money, that is anti-free speech. That is, to me, anti-free speech. No matter where you fall on the spectrum, can we all at least agree, if you're libertarian, communist, whatever, can we all just at least agree that free speech only for the rich and no free speech for the people who are independent artists is like a really bad arrangement? Like, that is like very unethical, and that's like, it's like the worst of both worlds. We're gonna spread COVID misinformation through the very popular channels, and then for people who are the smaller content creators, we're gonna crush you. The hypocrisy is sickening. You can just, if you just read you can read the Spotify statement yourself. You can just see they are lying through their teeth, and Neil Young exposed it. Neil Young took the hit. His music is no longer on Spotify. He's going to lose a ton of money over that. That is an incredible sacrifice. It's really hard to make political differences in this world, and to make the choice to take such a massive financial hit for the slim chance that you actually do, because let's be real, this could have been something that blows over in a couple of days. If Spotify was smart, they wouldn't have released a statement about it. They would have just tried to, let it just kind of pass and everyone would forget about it. But no, they released this hypocritical statement that shows that Spotify is anti-free speech. They're pro-free speech for the rich, anti-free speech for everybody else. They exposed themselves, and now Joni Mitchell got on board. Joni Mitchell's taken her music off the platform, and investors who Spotify are literally dependent on right now. Spotify's value has decreased by billions of dollars in a few weeks because investors are seeing this situation and saying, oh my god, Spotify is completely incompetent. So right now, Spotify is in an extremely weak situation. Like, if we can get more and more artists, Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, if we could get like Ariana Grande, if we can get Taylor Swift, if we can get just more artists hopping on board, we could finally topple this fucking awful platform. We can do it. This is Spotify's like Achilles heel right here, okay? We gotta hop on this and freaking take them down. Spotify has been exposed, and it's because of Neil Young, he's always been so intelligent. His music is amazing. He's always had very wise political things to say. Actually, take a look at the statement that Neil Young has here about free speech. He's saying he's pro-free speech. He's anti-censorship. Spotify has the freedom to have whatever crap they want on their platform, and Neil Young has the freedom to take his stuff off the platform if he wants to. This is a totally operating within a capitalist system of, you know, transactions and the capitalist idea of freedom of speech. Neil Young is playing these rules absolutely correctly. Neil Young is being consistent with his values. Spotify is not. Spotify is the corrupt one. Spotify is the anti-free speech. If someone says Neil Young is free speech, show them this statement from Neil Young. Neil Young is pro-free speech, and the real people who are anti-free speech are Spotify, because Spotify is giving free speech to the rich and cracking down on any sort of COVID-19 misinformation. For the smaller podcasts, Spotify, you gotta pick one. Are you going to be letting COVID-19 misinformation run wild, which I think you probably want to, because that'd make you more profits, or are you going to crack down on COVID-19 equally across your platform, not giving privileges to Joe Rogan? By the way, Spotify, you could very easily pull that episode, pull Joe Rogan into an office and say, hey, Joe Rogan, we love you, but you need to go on your platform and apologize for spreading this misinformation. Spotify can do that. They have that leverage, and instead they're picking the worst of both worlds of letting Joe Rogan just continue to spread his misinformation while cracking down on artists like Neil Young. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like I said, Spotify is very vulnerable right now. I hope this rocks the boat even more, and I hope we see some change. I would love to see, Spotify eat shit, honestly, because they are clearly just the definition of a company that puts profit over any sort of values, over any sort of taking care of the community in the world that we live in. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. Shout out to Neil Young. I don't think this is the end of the story. I think we're going to see more artists and more shakiness in the foundations of Spotify in the next few weeks and coming years, honestly. I think this is going to be a battle we're going to see for a long time, and thank you so much, Neil Young, for always just being an incredibly intelligent, politically shrewd musician, and using in a very aggressive tactic of removing your music from the platform, which is going to make you lose a lot of money. You did it very wisely, and it worked, and we are seeing Spotify shake in their boots. And this is coming from a former Spotify defender, so great job, Neil Young. Like, comment, subscribe. It helps my channel. Thanks so much, everybody. Let me know what you think. Punk Revolution now.